Coming right up, the lead singer of an iconic Nebraska band who blew up in the 90s tells us the story behind their #1 alternative hit from 1996. The story next on Professor of Rock. Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. If you had band patches or buttons, that you wore on your jean jacket or your leather jacket when you were growing up, you're gonna love this channel. Subscribe below right now to get to know the real stories behind your favorite songs, most of the time from the artists themselves. And also take a look at our Patreon link below that has another catalog of content, and it supports our aim to keep this music alive through video, interviews, and such. By the way, that intro came from our viewer Todd. Appreciate that. It doesn't happen nearly as often anymore, but for the generation who grew up in the rock and roll era, the 50s, the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, part of the 90s, before music was in the cloud, we got most of our bands and artists from listening to the radio. Pretty frequently, you'd hear something come through the airwaves in those years that, it'd stop you dead in your tracks and would inspire you to listen intently as a certain melody or a rhythm would just sweep your senses off their feet, and you just had to know who sang that song. And as soon as you found out the answer to this mystery, you would, of course, excitedly run to the record store and purchase said music or album and listen to it over and over. And it happened to me a lot back in the day. It was always an exhilarating experience. I know you remembered as well. I truly miss it, especially in the days we live in now. That electric experience started to decline, at least for me, as we got into the mid-90s. After Kurt Cobain died, it seemed like, come as you are, as you were. Boy bands and pop princesses started taking over radio.
Hit me, baby, one more time. Oh, baby, baby. Bye, bye, bye. Don't wanna be a fool for you.
The rock and pop of that early era that I grew up in, it seemed to be in decline. But I do remember a few times. In 96, I heard a song that struck a nerve. And one of those times I was having lunch at a restaurant in Cookeville, Tennessee, of all places. And there was a song that came on that just cut through the regular mix of 90s pop and grunge. It's distorted guitar, it kind of grabbed me by the ears and it headbutted me into a state of funky and soulful absorption. It was a heavy mix of like funk and reggae rock with some rapping in the verses, but it was really different. But it was the melodic chorus that really resonated with me. Of course, this was in the days before Shazam, where you push your button on your phone. So I spent days trying to figure out who sang the song, because I really liked it. It was very catchy. And I figured out the band was 311, and the song was Down. 311, Nick Hexum, S.A. Martinez, Peanut, and their merry band of funky dancehall crashers. The Blue album has a few 90s classics on it, that take you right back to that moment, that decade. In my mind, the last decade of the rock era where this kind of discovery happened more than once in a blue moon. Later, I fell in love with their song Amber.
Whoa, amber is the color of your energy.
311 can also bring it live. I had the opportunity to sit down with lead singer Nick Hexum to discuss the roots of the band and the creative story behind their #1 alternative hit, Down, from 96. And I found Nick to be just a solid-of-the-earth guy, just good dude. Now, as we go into this interview about the story of this song, I want to thank our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear, helps make this possible. They're the frames I wear every day. If you need a new pair of glasses or sunglasses, look no further. You can go design your own at zenni.com and add amazing features. There's blue blocks to protect your eyes from digital blue light. There's anti-fog and anti-glare. Check it out today. Here's Nick at 311. What was it for you, whether it was a song that you heard, an album that kicked open the door to your mind and made you want to pursue music?
My first musical love was 50s music. My dad was a big Chuck Berry. Go, Johnny, go, and Buddy Holly.
Peggy Sue, Peggy Sue. Oh,
and Jerry Lee Lewis.
Goodness gracious, great balls of fire. I let you love.
The energy of those early records was just something that fired me up. And he had this huge stack of 45s, and I would just play those over and over. Sometimes I would play them at like 78 and just dance around just crazy. There was just a rebellion to it that really spoke to me. And then I think the next pivotal moment was when I was 13 and went to junior high. A new friend had an older brother who was a massive Clash fan. I heard Should I Stay or Should I Go on the radio, but then to hear the self-titled debut album was just something beyond. I couldn't believe it existed. I immediately tried to learn those songs and to copy the dress and the attitude. I had this crazy hairdo that was bleach blonde on top, and then it was like cut into lines and then formed a V in the back, and each progressive was colored different. It was like black at the bottom, my natural brown, like red, and then blonde. So, that was my Omaha punk rock in the mid 80s.
You actually named one of your first bands after a Clash song, The Right Profile, which is a song about Montgomery Clift.
Yes, that's crazy that you know that. Yeah, I think there's a phase that every band gets through where, first you have the youthful exuberance, and then at some point your chops catch up to your ideas. And that's that glorious middle period. And maybe, for us, that would be equivalent to like around Transistor and Sound System, where we really felt we could explore and had the chops to keep up with that, yet still with that youthful energy. And in my mind, I'm still really fired up about the ideas, and there's always new production techniques and styles to incorporate.
You have a real eclectic background of so many different things, not only reggae and hip hop and things, but jazz. I mean, you were in your jazz band and a lot of different bands.
In high school, me and Tim, our guitarist, had a cover band, and we also played some originals, but it was the alternative of the time, which was a little post-punk, was The Cure and REM. And the Smiths.
I would go out tonight, but I haven't got this.
That band was called the Eds because our drummer was Ed. So that was for high school. We played in battles of the bands and, got pretty big there. And I got a little taste of the energy of performing live. And then right when we graduated, I had already been playing in this school jazz band with Chad. And he came from more of a fusion and progressive rock kind of background. Yeah. But the stuff that we bonded over was Prince.
This is what it sounds like when the doves cry.
And Bad Brains. And Public Enemy. Right after high school, then the two sides were combined into a band called Unity, and that was the summer after high school. And that was really where the 311 sound was born, where, the funk and the reggae and the rapping. So it was a pretty big change from the Eds, which was, college rock, to this hybrid sound.
And it really just kind of came from that mixture of the musicians together.
Yeah. Inspired by a drive to be undefined. Anything that we were inspired by can go in our music. And, sometimes there's resistance to hearing brand new sounds, but we've always just wanted to follow our heart, and wherever the muse leads us, that's where we go.
311 self-titled. And did you kind of know when you were recording this that you had something pretty special that was about to happen, or? all that hard work was about to pay off?
Yeah, you know, I think we could feel the energy really building. We had like 200 shows under our belt for the Grassroots tour. So I think that was kind of equivalent to, you know, when the Beatles went to Hamburg and just played, you know,
right.
5 hours a day. We got our 10,000 hours then. So I could, between our writing and musicianship getting better and also just the energy from the shows, it was a real thirst for what we were doing. And then like a song like Down. I mean, that's kind of a iconic intro that I came up with. It's, you know, almost like, you know, when you hear Smells Like Teen Spirit or something. We've always kind of been crap at picking singles because Down was actually the third single.
Right.
The label, and we didn't really know. We just make our record, and then kind of, we have a little bit of input on the singles, but they came out with Don't Stay Home first. And then All Mixed Up.
All mixed up, you don't know what to do. Next thing you turn around and find a person is you.
And then Down was the third single that really blew up. And then they went back out and re-released All Mixed Up as a fourth single.
Well, 3 times platinum, and this is an album that any 90s kid has in their collection. I got to ask you about Down, because that was the song that really put you guys on the map worldwide. I mean, it really was a smash. The video was on MTV all the time. You had said you wrote it kind of as gratitude to the fans and to the band members, but tell me about writing that song and putting it together.
Let's see, you know, I had found a guitar patch that has that combination of distortion with the auto wah, meaning the harder you play, more the wah opens up. So that gives it that wow wow. It was really distinct. So I think that guitar sound made the riff. It wouldn't have been the same without that sound. But it was a kind of a hip hop beat to it, you know, 90 some BPM, which was very much what we were listening to with hip hop at the time, De La Soul. Public Enemy. Tribe Called Quest.
You couldn't relate like yourself. You couldn't relate like yourself.
But then when you get to the chorus, yeah, to me it was it required a dance hall melody. That fast rhythms, that it was very much what was our 3 influences are rock, hip hop, and dancehall reggae. That one kind of has them all in a nice little bow with just the energy that was just pouring out of us at being, I guess, like 24 at the time when we wrote it, and just, you know, like I said, getting our chops up, and it was just a nice little time capsule.
One of those turntable scratches, and like you said, the dancehall vocals, but the distorted guitars. I mean, it just all came together, and it was like something totally different. Went #1 on the alternative chart, of course, and the video, that's such an iconic video.
They make a treatment, and I think that, you know, the director had really kind of honed in on the fact that we had punk rock energy, but there was also kind of a spirituality to what we were doing. So with the imagery of like having the big heavy Buddha, and having me like elevating during the bridge.
My feet on the ground, keep my head in the clouds.
I think he really captured what we were doing.
You performed it on Conan O'Brien.
Here to perform their hit single, Down, is 311.
David Letterman.
Gentlemen, here they are, 311.
That for me When we went to New York to be on Letterman, I had been such a fan of Letterman when he was like late night. And so to be on that stage, that was the moment, like having dinner together after, was like, and the guy said to me, like, Nick, you said we'd do it, and here we are. It was like the moment, and the records were just like flying off the shelves, and we're like, wow, man.
Speaking of that, do you remember the first time that you like really saw either the video or heard the song on the radio? You always have that moment as a musician where it finally hits you that, wow, that's me.
There was a bunch of little ones, like when Do You Right was our first single. K-Rock in Los Angeles actually kind of jumped on that. We had these little pockets of so it was at that same house in Van Nuys that we were around the pool, and it came on, and the remember the DJ was like, this band's from Omaha. We got to move to Omaha if bands sound like that. It was like, well, we're out here now. But and then when they played us on 120 Minutes, the homebrew video off Grassroots.
Well, 120 Minutes, I mean, I'm sure you remember watching the Smiths and Morrissey and Depeche Mode and all those bands and thinking, man, we're there.
Yeah.
We're getting played on.
Right where we wanted to be. And like, remember in the 80s growing up, they had Night Flight, which was on USA, and they'd play like the Clash movie. And all these Jamaican movies. Because that was the thing. It was hard to, growing up in Omaha, you had to really work to get the deep culture that was going on.
Going back to Down, it's also been introduced to a new generation because of Rock Band 3 and video games. It's pretty cool that it can just keep living and keep going on. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Make sure to leave us a comment about this #1 alternative hit. What are your memories and thoughts on 311 in the mid-90s and where music was going at that point? Who else should we interview from the 90s? We cover a lot of the 70s and 80s a lot. We're getting into the 90s and the 60s. Let us know in the comments. If you do like this video, we would invite you to be a full-time part of our community by subscribing below. We'd love to have you. Also, we invite you to check us out on Patreon. Just give it a look. Help us keep the music alive. So important. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends. Stay safe.